After my parents died in a boat accident, I received an inheritance of $5 million. It was strange because I was not aware they had that kind of money. My parents lived a very simple life, only making purchases when necessary. So when I got access to such an amount of money, I was scared. But one day, my boyfriend came up with what I thought was a wonderful idea.
Babe, let me save the money in my account. When you have a good plan for the money, I'll send it back to you.
Paul and I had been together since high school. He had always been loyal to me, so I had no reason to doubt him. That's a good idea, Paul. Yesterday, I had to stop myself from buying a car.
I'm glad you didn't. That would have been a mistake.
I found it weird that he thought it would be a mistake because he always complained about how long it took me to get to work via public transport. But I came to the conclusion that he wanted me to spend every cent wisely. The next day, I went to the bank and transferred the money to Paul. Afterwards, I began attending business conferences because I wanted to know the best way to use my inheritance. After months of research, I decided to start a trucking business. I decided to buy loads of trucks and rent it out to companies. When I told Paul, he laughed at my idea.
That business will make you look unattractive.
But I won't be the one driving.
It's not a good idea. Think of another one.
But I knew he was wrong, so I insisted he send the money to me.
Are you being rude because your money is in my account? You know what? I am going to the bank and send the money right away.
I didn't want us to fight, so I tried to calm the situation down. I'm sorry, Paul. Please don't be upset.
Fine. Let's make a deal. Give your idea a month. If you still want to do it after a month, then I'll send the money to you.
It was a reasonable deal, so I accepted it. 3 weeks later, Paul traveled for a business trip.
I'll be back in 2 days, babe.
All right, have a safe trip. However, Paul didn't come back when he was supposed to. Worst of all, he was unreachable. A week passed, and I still hadn't heard from him. So I decided to go to his office, and I got a big shock. Paul resigned to relocate abroad. It didn't make sense to me. So I went to his house and peeked through the window. But his apartment was empty. Paul had really left. After a while, I thought of my money in his account. Was that why he asked me to wait for a month? I couldn't believe he had scammed me and I had no one to call. He was an only child of his late parents and he didn't have friends. Paul always joked about how I was his only friend. However, I didn't want to report to the police either because I still believed he would reach out to me. 3 days passed, and I got a call from my friend that worked at the airport. Oh my God, I just saw Paul at the airport. What? I can't believe he came back to town. Does it matter? Maybe he had to pick something up. Should I call the police? No, don't please. Does he look all right though? That's the wrong question. Come right now. On my way to the hospital, I saw an elderly lady lying on the floor. She seemed unconscious, so I immediately called the ambulance. My friend kept calling me, but I didn't want to leave the woman alone at least until we could find her relative. Finally, the doctors were finally able to revive her.
Unfortunately, she doesn't have relatives. She was coming from her husband's graveside when she fainted.
That day, I forfeited going after Paul and stayed back with the woman. You ruined your only chance. It's okay. I trust God to take care of me. I spent the next 2 weeks visiting the old lady every day. Sometimes I passed the night because she didn't want to be lonely. My husband passed away 2 months ago. We were married for 33 years. Over the next months, Mary and I got quite close. I visited her house every other day. One day, she said to me, "I have a gift for you. I'll give you the money for your trucking business." Mary's husband left a lot of money for her.
You don't deserve what your ex did to you.
I refused the money, but she insisted.
I have no children. You are the only one I have, and you deserve happiness.
Well, I accepted the money from her and began working on my business plan. And in a year, I had a large amount of clients, which made me so much money. So I decided to expand my business by opening a branch in another state. When I went to my new office complex, I saw a familiar figure wandering around. It was Paul, and as soon as he recognized me, he began to cry.
I am sorry, Lisa. I never wanted to hurt you.
What are you doing here? I thought you traveled abroad. He said he was part of the people that was brought back by the government.
Lisa, I bought a lot of houses on the same street with your money. But there was a terrible flood and it destroyed a lot of houses, including mine.
I felt pity for him because he was obviously homeless.
If you take me back, Lisa, I will spend every day paying for my mistakes.
Paul was obviously looking for a home to stay in, and whether or not he was sorry, I was never going to take him back. So instead, I gave him some money and went on my way. I had no grudges against him. Few years later, I got married to a special man who cares deeply about me. And guess who walked me down the aisle? You guessed right, my mother, Mary.